Way International. New Foundation Production presents.
Hey, it's your boy Arkeese. Welcome to Arkeese and the Food for Thought Project. Man, what a great show we had last week, or was it the week before, the beginning of the year? And we're gonna just keep it going, man. I'm just looking forward to 2018. God has truly been blessing me and moving the ministry forward, and I'm just thankful. He just keeps his word. Even when things are bad, like you're going through something and it just don't seem like there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm here to tell you that God is good, and he just always come through, man. Sometimes we got to go through some things. Life can't just be like, cake and ice cream all the time. You just can't get your way all of the time. If you don't fail, how are you going to learn how to succeed? It's picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and then thinking about the situation or what may happen, let alone if it's your fault or somebody else's fault. No matter what, it's a learning opportunity. And sometimes God has us in a situation where we are being tested, because if you can't handle this, you may not be able to handle something greater or better. If you can't handle this small thing, how are you going to handle something large? And if you can't handle that large thing, how are you going to handle something even greater? So sometimes these trials and tribulations that we go through have a lot to do with being soldiers and standing up and fighting. You gotta put back the past and release all the pain and the hurt and everything you've gone through. And you've got to let God guide you to his promise and the blessings that he has for you. Don't let people, family and friends and just co-workers and whoever else is in your life continue to be a negative drag on you. Sometimes you just got to leave people alone. Sometimes you just go to work and do your job and go home. Sometimes there's family members you just cannot fool with because they just bring negativity in your life. It is what it is. So in 2018, I encourage you to move forward, to leave the pain, the suffering, the bad everything, the bad energy from 2017, leave that behind. And today we're going to talk. Hey, look, Martin Luther King birthday was this week? And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to get into, it's really, for me, it's Martin Luther King month. Just really reflecting on everything he's done. A lot was going on during this period, other than just his birth. I want you to just think about when he was born, the state of just the world in general, especially here in the United States. And now if you look at everything that's going on right now, man, it's a sad day. But the reason we're going to really talk about Martin Luther King Jr., you think of him as a civil rights advocate, but you got to remember he was a man of God first. You need to look at what he was doing from a different perspective, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we do that, we're going to break into some music. We're going to play some right here from the Armageddon soundtrack compilation. Christ-Sized Soldiers, Save Savage. Man, this is one of my favorite songs, man. This is one of them songs that be like, yo, the roll call song, like where are all the real soldiers at? Where the warriors at really standing up for the Father? Where they at? So this song is for them. This song is for you. If you one of them people, man, stand with me. It's Arkeese and the Food for Thought Project. Let's go.
Frontline, my sign rhymes, the blind, the hard times, define the prime time, rewind the whole block, folks that saw knocks, drop top, they shock, slinging the real rock.
Reppin' your hood, yo, we right here, and reppin' your block, hey, we right here. It's the soldier boys, reppin' 24/7. We down for the king who rides up in heaven.
I'm like DPG, straight out the dog pound. I get hypey when my master come around. Man, this 5-1-0, knocking haters to the floor. I'm like David in the temple, reppin' Christ is so simple.
And all my south side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my north side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my east side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my west side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my DJs, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my homies on the block, where you at? Right here. And all my real fathers, tell me where you at? Right here. And all brothers, tell me where you at. Right here.
And it ain't no stopping me, God's property, dropping me, roll. Stepping up hypocrisy, try knocking me, blocking me, roll. Rewind, yes, hit it with the rest, the best, when you represent the best, yes. Hit it with
We done
greatness.
all lost ones, dog, we know about that. Been harassed by the pole, man, we know about that. So we gon' speak life to your cuz we know about that. We gon' shake the foundation, cause we know how it is.
I almost died 2 times and he still brought me back. You got caught up in the game and he still brought you back. You was broken down and busted and he still brought you back. Yo, I'm talking about the king, what you know about that? And all my south side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my north side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my east side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my west side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my DJs, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my homies on the block, where you at? Right here. And all my real fathers, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my single mothers, tell me where you at? Right here. Find somebody you wanna pray for. 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 Now let's pray. Hey, hey, hey. Now let's pray. Hey, hey, hey. Now let's pray. Hey, hey, hey. Now let's pray. Hey, 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 hey.
Christ side, never tripping, I'ma get this victory. All night, we rolling with a capital G-O-D. Front line, bringing out till there ain't no fear. And everybody in the face to place, coming in with the front line, stay right here.
And all my south side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my north side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my east side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my west side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my DJs, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my homies on the block, where you at? Right here. And all my real fathers, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my single mothers, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my south side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my north side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my east side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my west side soldiers, where you at? Right here. And all my DJs, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my homies on the block, where you at? Right here. And all my real fathers, tell me where you at? Right here. And all my single mothers, tell me where you at? Right here. Hey, 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 hey,
Yeah. Right here. That's what I'm talking about, man. Christ Side Soldiers featuring Save Savage right here. And that's a perfect song for what we're talking about. Martin Luther King Jr. and his impact on America, the world, actually. He was so iconic. But what I want people to understand is people always talk about the civil rights part of what he did, but you're missing the big picture. You're missing the fact that he was a man of God. He had a church, and every move he made, he prayed about. Everything he did was a flow from Christ. You know, when you look at what he did from the marches, the protests, and everything that he did, the reason why it's so important for you to remember and to lock in that he was a man of God is the decisions that he made and how he carried those decisions out. Now listen, think about this. If everything Martin Luther King and all of the people in the civil rights movement, but specifically with him, if God gave him this direction, this movement, this promise, this journey, if it's directed by God, along with everything that it meant, everything he was trying to accomplish, that means it's God's plan, right? That's God's plan. That means everybody who was working against him was working against God's plan. Right with me, get with me right here. Listen, everybody who was working against Martin Luther King was working against God's plan because that's who gave it to him. Everything he did. That's why he was so nonviolent about stuff. I know a lot of people were back then were like, especially with Malcolm X, was more like, yo, they doing this like this, we're gonna do it like that. But he understood, Martin Luther King understood that how that would be used against us and how God is covering everything that he's doing. That guns were not gonna solve the problem, that only Jesus Christ was gonna solve the problem. So from his speeches to his marches to everything he did, where do you think that fuel came from? You just thinking it was just him, the man, but you got to understand who the general was, who was the chief in charge. You got to understand that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was really his ride or die. It was his pillow at nighttime and the hugs, everything he needed in every situation. Let alone if he was in a jail cell or and he needed to be comforted. Jesus was right there. When his feet was hurting, his leg was hurting, his body was hurting. When he got stabbed, everything that happened to him. Jesus was his doctor, his lawyer, and everything in between, because everything was God's plan. So now I want you to think about that as we get ready for the next song. Think about if it was God's plan, everything that Martin Luther King did, everything that he did, and people were working, and I mean Christian people who was claimed to be believers. Well, that's a whole nother topic, but Christians versus believer. But you understand what I'm saying. How are you working against God's plan? You're supposed to believe in the Lord and Savior. Think about that, because I'm going to play that right into what's currently going on in America and how people are playing against God's plan. Because if that was everything that MLK stands for, everything that he fought for is what was going to make America greater, better, with purpose, right? So I want y'all to think about that. We're going to go to another song. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm going to surprise y'all. Let's get it.
I'm here to encourage you. For those that don't know, the time has come. The 510, the 415, the 907. We rep for the fall. We rep for the sun. We rep for the Holy Ghost. We rep what we from. We pray for them sisters, we pray for them brothers. We pray for them pastors with the undercover lovers. But I ain't perfect, I'm not no better than you. You see, I pray to the Father and he brought me through my sinning situations, mental fornication. I'm saved, I'm savage. The devil hit me, I'm damaged. I step to the street and I'm sinking, I'm leaking. I look up and I see a beacon. It's he, it's I, it's El Shadow now, providing me with a way out. That's why I scream and I shout. I'm speaking about love in here, I'm talking about God in here. So grab your father, grab your mother, grab your daughter, come to the altar. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. If you a soldier in your hood, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier in your hood, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your school, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your school, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your job, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your job, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your crib, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your crib, hold it up. Hold it up. We fight for the yay, claim turf in the yay. Let's tarry for the yay, make it better for the yay. My mama's prayers kept me from losing my mind, getting up, hitting the grind. I was your modern day Saul, and now they just call me Paul. Until I fall, I saw the Father boldly. Father, please hold me, I'm lonely. I need your help to make it through. I'm having dreams and visions too. I stepped out on faith, I need to seek your face. You chosen me, I hope to be what you have ordained me to be. I need to overcome my flesh. Everything I see is sex, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling trapped, my sin is a black cloud. The thunder's so loud, so loud. Yes, I would die for you. Is that what I'm here to do? Who live? Oh, that's my crew. Yes, they will ride too. Then it will begin here. Your savage is here, cutting down trees like Paul Revere. I'm here, all y'all demons back to fear. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. We set in our walk, we set in how we talk. We set to whom we pray and we represent Yahweh. From Genesis to Job, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Lamentations, Revelations, Galatians, Ezra, Job. All books in the Bible, that's my song. Devil wanna run up, come on. Reaching out, picking up jawbones. My life is already destined to do the best in. God is what I'm set in. Walking out puffing my chest in. Speaking about God's many blessings. No need for me to be stressing. I've been delivered from my sin. Yeah. Many are called, talk to me, man. But few are chosen, holla at your boy. And right about now, I'ma introduce to you the Saint Savage, who is coming. Now if y'all wanna get down with us, we want you to get your body. Get your body. Get him up. Get him up. Hold him up like this. Hold him up. Y'all ready to do this? Are you ready? Come on. Are you ready? If you a soldier in your hood, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier in your hood, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your school, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your school, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your job, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your job, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your crib, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier at your crib, hold it up. Hold it up. If you a soldier in your hood, hold it up.
Hold it up. Man, I love that song. Yo, like check it. Seriously, like if you a soldier in your hood, like what does that mean if you a soldier? You always hear us talking about, oh, Christ-sized soldier this, soldier that. Look, if you a soldier in your hood, hold it up. That means that whatever's going on in the street, whatever buffoonery everybody's into, you ain't into that. That you understand that there's plan and purpose in your life, that you're going to stand on God's word, God's promise, and you're going to, no matter what they do to you, stand and be like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not gangbanging. I'm not drug dealing. I'm not out here prostituting these girls. No, I'm not out here having sex. I'm just doing whatever. If whatever it is that's just not in God's plan, you're not with it. If you're a soldier at school, you're not bullying. You're going to class. You're studying. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. You're not being disrespectful to the teacher. You showing people the best version of Christ that's in you. Most people are gonna. There are a lot of people in the world. The only Christ they're ever gonna know is you. And when I say that is you, that means your behavior, how you act, how you walk, how you talk. If they know you're a Christian, let's say they don't even know you're a Christian, but you carry yourself a special kind of way. Like you just got this thing going on. Then they come up to you like, yo, man, what's up? Like, yo, you always like in class studying, like always, man, on top of things, bro. And like what's up? Like who are you? Like, what do you do? Oh, you know, I'm so-and-so, you know, and my Lord, that's ministry. Boom. This is what I am. This is how I rock. You know what I'm saying? So I think lots of times how we carry ourselves draws attention. And sometimes it can be negative or positive. Sometimes people be hating. Oh, you smart. Oh, you want to get straight A's and B's. Oh, you want to go to school all the time. Man, that's square. That's square. The devil works through people sometimes to throw you off task, to throw you off the promise. You know what I'm saying? And that's why when we talk about Martin Luther King, you got to understand something about this period. We could not vote. We could barely go to school. That's why it's so, you think it's about some civil rights, but it's all about God's plan. It was always about God's plan. Civil rights was just wrapped up into it, but God's plan was always for you to go to school, for you to vote, for you to have plan and purpose, for you to be treated a certain way. That's God's plan. They act like it was a black thing or no. That's a godly thing. Okay, that was God's plan. See, sometimes people get so caught up in this black-white thing and all this other stuff. I can get rid of all of that and sum it up basically like this. It was God's plan and you were fighting against God's plan. That's just plain and simple. When you make things about color, sometimes it can get diluted, it can get thrown off. People can take things in certain kind of ways and flip it and do it. No, I just stand on God. You're working against God's plan. Now what you gonna say? Oh yeah, let me hear it. What you gonna say? You're working against God's plan. Everything I do is part of God's plan. You being racist, you're working against God's plan. You being a bigot, you're working against God's plan. You being a misogynist, you're working against God's plan. You know, everything. Politicians right now, they're all working against God's plan. You know, you got some of them act like they're with God's plan, but then being racist at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait, hold up. You know who the Father is? You are a believer. And you have the audacity to say and do things that are clearly against God's plan. And then you want to act like you don't know or you don't remember what was said or what was done. Well, just ask the Father. He'll give you all the information you need. If you have a memory lapse, ask the Father, Lord, help me. I was in this room when these things were being said, but for some reason I don't remember. I don't remember because I don't want to offend people. But you're offending God by you choosing people over Him. See, that's where we all start slipping and having problems. And in everything that we do, the minute it's a clear choice. It's God's plan. And when you start working against that, you're in the way of what He's trying to do. You're offending Him. You know what I'm saying? So to all of my politicians, everybody want to be in politics, that's Christians and believers, listen to me. You cannot play God like that. You can't. You know, there's what you want to do personally, and then there's what you want to do for God. That's why I specifically have been asked, you should be a pastor. I'm like, are you crazy? Bro, my everyday walk is hard enough. When you step up to that level of responsibility, bro, you better understand exactly what you're asking for. There's responsibility at that level. You have to be ready for it. Don't step into that if you ain't ready for that. If you want to be a politician, you better get ready for it, because you will be asked to compromise yourself and your faith many times. You understand what I'm saying? And to this day, I've still haven't seen that person with that Jesus walk as a politician. I just haven't seen it. You know what I'm saying? You know, people would say, well, Obama's a Christian. Okay, yes. How he carried himself definitely was a strong reflection of that. Some of his policies wasn't. Gay rights stuff, yo, I have a lot of gay friends, but there's what I personally believe, and there's what the fathers say. I'm going to always ride with him. See what I'm saying? It's tough, because if you're a believer, how do you work it out? How do you work that out? You know, and you like, well, going back to Martin Luther King, all the civil rights, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, you have to understand God's plan and purpose, period. And everything involved in that is in the Bible. It's right there waiting for you. So if you're unclear about how God feels about various issues and topics, just bust that Bible open, and it's not complicated. You can go right to the index and look up certain words. And if it's not hard to find. Sin is sin, but you know, hey, you can just roll on the 10 Commandments and figure a whole lot of things out, you know. But I don't want to divert too much off of what we're talking about Martin Luther King. So what I want you to take from this discussion is who Martin Luther King was. I know I'm not saying this full junior and all that stuff. It's just too much. Just think about who he was. He was a man of God. And that means that every night he prayed as a pastor for God's guidance and leadership, plan and purpose. And anybody that was against that was working against God's plan. And that's very important for everybody to remember and to never forget. And that plays in today, because I want you to just think about all the things that we want to do that is in God's plan for you, for your family, for our country. It's not complicated. It just, when you are out here behaving reckless, and in the same breath say you're a Christian, you're not working in God's plan. And it's more dangerous socially, because you send this signal to other Christians and other people that it's okay to act this way, okay to be this way. In your private life, hey, between you and God, I pray for you, just like pray for me, and hope that this walk gets better and I get closer to God. But taking in positions where you have authority over people or influence over people and power and all this other stuff, you have to be even closer to God because of the impact of what you're doing. You hurt the body by acting a fool. There are less people going to church today because of the last 20 years of things that have happened within the church around homosexuality, money laundering, embezzlement. There's so much stuff. We've been getting hit constantly within the church, within the body. And we haven't made any changes. We keep doing the same stuff. That's why the same problems keep coming back over and over and over again, because we're not solving those problems because we are bogged down by not learning. So it's like God is sitting back, well, I'm going to sit back here and you're going to spend, 100 years? How many years are we going to keep doing this? 200 years? 400 years? Okay. You know, And him, time is nothing. But to us, time is everything. You know, we just wasting his time. I just like, every day I like, Lord, help me be better. I'm so flawed. But I at least recognize and daily try to be a better person, you know, and just, I know when I was younger, I don't know how he tolerated me, but he could see me at work. You know what I'm saying? There's a sticker on my car that says work in progress. That's how I feel like I was a work in progress. You know, if someone pulled my coattail, I didn't fight that. If they said, if a pastor or somebody say our keys A, B, C, and D, I took that to heart. How much I applied, you know, I applied something. So I just want to say for everybody, when you think about Martin Luther King's birthday, when you think about Black History Month, when you think about anything to do around the civil rights, I want you to remember one thing, that everything that had to do with that was all part of God's plan, on the positive, what they were doing. And I want you to remember, and I want you to also remember the negative things that was done to African Americans at the time. I want you to see how the devil works. And I'm not calling white people devils, but what I'm saying, listen, this is very important for all white people. If you're listening to this show, listen to this. It's important for you to understand how racism works. Me personally, this is what I believe racism is. I think racism is a demonic tool. So when you embrace it, you allow demonic spirits to enter you, right? Because it's like a gateway. You know how like a gateway drug? Hatred, bigotry, like the smaller forms, bigotry and all that stuff, is gateway to racism. And racism spreads like a parasite, like a demonic parasite, and you just spread it in through your family like a cold. It just grows and grows, and before you know it, generations upon generations upon generation, now there's a curse upon your family, upon your culture, because this demonic principle has become so commonplace that now it seems so natural you can't stop doing it. If 5% of white people are impressed, or 10%, whatever it may be, it needs to be 100%. It's not cool. If you're a believer, you're even more under attack, because now you've embraced the demonic principle and you claim to know Christ. See, Christians, we have this thing called discernment. And discernment helps us identify demonic attacks and demonic mindset. So you got to remember that it's important, because first of all, blacks are racist against blacks. Other cultures are racist within their own cultures. So racism, period, not just black and white, racism, period, is built around demonic principle. And demonic principles, anytime you embrace one, you invite demonic possession, like it's in you. There's a demon sitting in you, fueling that. You know, you start losing control of your spirit. It starts taking over and your flesh becomes fully in control. And that's how your clan, your skinheads, that's how all these groups get to be where they be. The spirit is no longer in control. It is being held hostage by their flesh. Trust me, because when you see these people come out of skinheads, when you see the people break away from skinheads and hate groups, and they start talking about their experiences of what it felt like to be in that situation, you can hear the difference. The spirit is finally getting to speak. You understand what I'm saying? And they'll tell you they were in a place of darkness, that they felt like there was no way out. You know, man, y'all better listen up. I'm telling you right now. I am blessed to have deep insight into this topic because of working on the front line. Look, I've had to work with some really racist kids. And I mean, so racist, to the point they spit in your face, they threaten you, their families threaten you, you know. Like only Jesus Christ brought me through some of the kids I've had to work with, especially the ones from Humboldt County in California. Straight skinheads, just the kids get into the system for whatever. But you know what? I said, hey, anything that the devil put in you, I can take out. Straight up. Any mindset, any thought, any teaching, anything you got, devil, you got no control when Jesus steps on the scene. You know what I'm saying? So I just want people to understand that the reason why hate is back greater than ever is because there's not enough believers and there's too many Christians. See, Christians are going to sit back and just go to church and chill, but believers ain't having it. We're not standing up for none of that stuff. And let me give you a good example. If I am a Christian and I'm in politics and I see one of my fellow brothers talking racist or talking out of line or out of pocket, it is within my authority to pull him inside. Hey, that's not what God wants. We need to pray over that demonic mindset. You see what I'm saying? That's what believers do. Believers will check that. Christians won't do anything. They'll be so worried about their position. They'll be worried about their constituents. How are you gonna worry about your constituents and not worry about the Father? Who's the greater threat? You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not saying Jesus is a threat, but come on now, you gotta fear God. You know what I'm saying? Like, who you rather lose? You know what I'm saying? That's not even rocket science. But see, that's the difference when we talk about, progress. It's just not enough believers. It's not enough people holding people accountable. In the church, we call it covering. If you're a minister, or you're out here doing whatever, you need to be covered. So on a spiritual level, people are praying for you and covering you. But on another level, what people are doing is they are interceding when you may go astray. When you lose your direction, these people are around you to pull you to the side, say, hey man, you kind of out here doing some crazy things. And so everybody needs that. Every Christian needs a covering, especially if you're in a position, power, influence, authority. You have to be covered by somebody that you know is in tune with God and will have your best interest along with God's best interest at heart. You understand what I'm saying? And right now, that's not happening. Look, the right is supposed to have the conservative Christians over there. And I have not seen these cats standing up, putting their foot down. You got one or two of them and the rest of them are just acting like Trump died on the cross. That's what I see. You acting like this dude died on the cross, not the Father died on the cross. Because if you believe the Father died on the cross, that you would be dealing with a lot of these behaviors that have demonic principles behind it. But he's making things that, no, he don't do nothing. God does everything. You know what I'm saying? God is the one in control. And so when people say that, well, Trump has done you can be working against God's plan, but God has a plan to undo all that. See, sometimes, remember what I said, you have to go through some things. We have to go through these Trump moments. We have to see it. First of all, if Trump would have never got elected, right now we would have never known how bad the racism really was in the closet. Because the racism before Trump, when Obama got elected, was more like, well, you guys have finally arrived. You've got your black president and welcome. Everything's equal now. And we were like, what are you talking about? Everything's not equal, because if you remember the last 2 years of his presidency, killing of black youth in America was out of control. Because they felt like, we can't get him, let's get them. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. So people kept saying like something's not right, something's off. And then Trump comes into office, and then here they come. All of them out of the woodwork saying, we voted for you, we put you in office. When I heard David Duke say that, I was just like, there it is. Finally, the real America. This is the realest we've ever been. People hated it, but it's a good thing because now nothing is hidden. Everything in the dark does come to light. That's what everybody should be focusing on. Everything in the dark does come to light, and that's exactly what's been happening. So I just want people to really understand and see the blessing in it, and understand that God's plan, sometimes bad things have to happen. And sometimes God also gives you an opportunity to do the right thing. Okay, great. You don't like Trump, but you don't think God's going to give Trump opportunity to do the right thing? He is. You don't think God tries to get at him sometimes? I don't believe that there's no time that God does not talk to no man. I don't believe that's the case. Sometimes you can't hear him because your flesh is so far in control, but he's going to keep working at you, and people around you are going to keep working at you. And soon, come on. You know how many gang members I know have actually killed people who are now the most savage, saved people in the world on the front lines for Christ? Perfect example. Oh, they can hear Christ, but he can't? Come on now. Let's just be 100. Trump is in a position of power, influence, and authority. We have to keep praying for him and interceding and hoping that he hears more from God, and let God make the changes, because The reality is that he has people in his ear and in his constituents that he think is forgotten. That tells you a whole lot right there, because God don't forget nobody, first of all. But that just tells you that his ear is in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? We just got to keep praying. And so this is his moment to see what he's made of in a godly kind of way, because they say he's a Christian. Okay, we'll see. So if you keep making moves using demonic principles, where does your Christianity play into? And yeah, okay, there are some of the things he's did, definitely more to the Christian right. Yeah, absolutely. It just is what it is. He's not with abortion and some of these other things. Okay, he flip-flop, whatever. But the reality is there are just some basic things that he made before that just happen to align with Christian beliefs. But that still doesn't mean that you're following God's plan and purpose. You know, you understand what I'm saying? If a drug dealer buys a whole neighborhood, not saying Trump's a drug, but just take the reference. Buys a whole neighborhood, school clothes and all the good things they need, and keeps the streets clean and da-da-da, et cetera, et cetera. That's not following God's plan. He's still a drug dealer. You see what I'm saying? Just because you do good things don't mean you're following God's plan. You're just doing good things. And good things, you already know what they say about that in the Bible. So good deeds will not get you up to the Father. So I'm just saying, you know, we got to take that stuff at heart, and we got to just really understand God's plan and purpose, understand what the civil rights was really all about, God's plan and purpose, understand why God gave Martin Luther King this gift to lead and show us the way, and be thankful that he came, because Lord knows what the world would be like without him. You know, Jesus came, and then he brought us Martin Luther King, like, yo, I got another soldier for you. Man, trust and believe. So it's your boy Arkeese, man. I'm gonna see if I can slide another song in here. Arkeese and the Food for Thought Project. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's for the front line, baby.
These streets,
Yeah,
ain't no joke. It's warfare 24/7,
24/7.
7 days a week.
What?
You see, it's ride or die.
Ride or die, baby. Come on.
There is no middle ground in this.
Warfare.
It's either you do
Can't stop
or you
us.
don't. It's either you will
Do it.
or you won't. Christ-sized soldiers,
Ride or walk.
H-Dog,
My
ANC.
God. Yo. Soldier! Soldier!
Whoa! Ride or die. Come on. Whoa! Ride or die. Whoa! Ride or die. Whoa! Ride or die. So if you coming, yo, you better come correct. Cause if you not, then I'm breaking devil's necks. Ain't nowhere to run, ain't nowhere to hide. Do you wanna live? Do you wanna die? Say it's nothing but a lie. Think it's the demons, the devil, and the gas. I'm a Christ-sized soldier, and you know where I'm gonna be at. Oh, I'm on the front line, give my life for Christ. If you can't get down with that, you gon' be the one to get iced. Rest in peace, hasta la vista is how I preach you. It ain't nothing like get up on the side that's gonna beat you. So stop your hate, so I can hand you this Bible. You better be a Christ-sized soldier than being a Christ-sized rival. What? Drug dealers, where you at? Are you killers? Where you at? Gang bangers, where you at? This your last chance to get your life on track. That's real. You wanna battle with the Christ-sized soldier?
The battle cry. Wanna live or die? What?
Do you wanna battle with the Christ-sized soldier?
Who wanna ride? Who wanna ride?
Do you wanna battle with the Christ-sized soldier?
The battle cry. Wanna live or die? What?
Do you wanna battle with the Christ-sized soldier? H-Storm!
We froze deep on the front line, partner. You ain't gon' find no cowards out with the block. Babylonian towers bring the heat like a shockwave. Ancient of days, holy tongues I blaze on every demonic spirit who try to face. Spiritual Terminator, ransack foes, stand opposed to this. Split the sea like young Moses did. Commence the day of redemptive trials, miles and miles. We journey through the desert of files. Recognize this prophetic proclamation saturates the beat. I plead the blood of Christ over these streets. Sip the wheat, ride with us and get rolled on. Stole on, daddy come coming, boy, to take us all home. It's the last days, raging like a hurricane. Storm, storms and forms, the revelation that the king was born. It's Christ's side till I'm 6 feet deep. The young dog at A&C, genuflected at the Savior's feet. Come on.
Do you wanna battle with the Christ side soldier?
The battle cry, wanna live or die, what?
Do you wanna battle with the Christ side soldier?
Who wanna ride, who wanna ride,
Do you wanna battle with the Christ side soldier?
The battle cry, wanna live or
Yeah.
die, what?
Do you wanna battle with the Christ
Christ
soldier?
side.
Who wanna ride?
Yo, Shabar Keese and the Food for Thought Show. Want to shout out our sponsors, man. They've been down with us since 2016. Started with supporting the G Hits album, Christ Side Soldiers. They blessed us with pressing that up, and then that just grew into bigger and greater things, radio shows, Armageddon compilation. And man, we're all on the same page. It's like, do you want to battle with the Christ Side Soldiers? They say, yeah, we want to battle with the Christ Side Soldiers. And let me tell you, they just know we about that life. We about that front line. You know what I'm saying? And that was years of them seeing that work. They saw us working. You know what I'm saying? Even when other people stopped working, I just kept working, you know, on that front line, and they see that. So people don't, let me tell you, when you are doing what God's supposed to do, people gonna bless you, especially if you're a frontline kind of person. Like, you know, you can tithe and do those things, but at the end of the day, what about the front line? What about the homeless? What about the kids? What about the ones that's not getting it? You know what I'm saying? That's where we come in. We soldiers about it. And you got to be a team with other soldiers. Yahweh International, New Foundation Productions. You got to check them out. And they out here doing it. They out here doing it. Sometimes, even as soldiers, we have to have support. You know, in the real military, there's support and all other things that go along to make soldiers what they are. Logistics and all sorts of stuff. You got to have that. So in our case, that's kind of the way I see them. There are logistics sometimes, there are support sometimes, and they really support everything we do. If I say support one more time, so help me. But it's your boy Keese, man, and I just want to wrap this show up with everybody truly understanding this show's purpose and plan is to give you food for thought. You might 100% disagree with me, but the fact that you're taking time to listen to what I'm having to say, that's good, because I do the same thing. I don't listen to radio that says what I want to hear. I listen to radio and talk show personalities and other people that completely are opposite of what I may think and believe, because I want to hear what the other side think. How much of what they say is total BS and bullcrap, and how much of what they're saying, they might say something that I didn't know, or what I want to know, because when dialogue needs to happen, I need to be fully informed. And just like you may be 100% believing what I'm saying, but then sometimes people believe what I'm talking about, but then they're not active. They're just Christian. They're not active. So one of the goals for Food for Thought is to give you food for thought, but to make you active, to be a soldier, to put you on the front line, to make a difference, mentoring, volunteering, helping the homeless, helping the youth, helping less advantaged. That's that soldier mindset that we talk about. So sometimes if I give you that good meal, that good food for thought, it is something in your spirit will wake up and be like, you know what? I do know this young person that's really been struggling that I kind of have not really reached out to. You know what? There is this homeless person. You know what? There's a Boys and Girls Club down the street. I'm going to go help mentor or help volunteer and teach them what I know. I'm going to pick up somebody the way I was picked up. You know what I'm saying? And brought up and teach them things. That's something that is very important. So when we talk about Martin Luther King, man, you know how many people he mentored? How many people volunteered? You don't see nothing that radical no more. You know what I'm saying? And to me, this is the era it needs to be happening. You know, whole communities was coming together. You know what I'm saying? You better wake up and see what's going on. Because between this bad weather that we having, I've never been one of them revelations type of people, but I'm right about now, I'm on that revelation tip for real. You know, people always talking about like end days. I've been hearing about end days since I was little. You know, and I was just like, okay, when are these end days coming, right? But let me tell you, when I went through that hurricane here in Houston, I was like, something's going on. And then this whole freezing thing down here, like the weirdest stuff across the world, man. I'm like, Jesus is really right around the corner. If you don't know, you don't believe. As somebody who was never really into that revelation kind of stuff, even though it's in the Bible, I'm all into that. I just didn't feel like I was going to see it during my time. I'm rethinking that. Because first of all, you don't know when it's going to be, but there are signs, clear signs. And that's the stuff that's scary. There's a reason people don't read that book. You start reading Revelations, stuff starts jumping out at you, and you start really realizing how close it is. And as you realize how close it is, you want to get your act together. So if you need to do that to get you shook, do that. I'm shook already just because I'm close to the things that go on to the street, so I'm already shook. I don't get that restful, peaceful mindset. I don't isolate myself. But sometimes people isolate themselves so much that nothing shake them. You need to start reading that book in Revelations and get shook. If you straight up, because you'll like, let me give you a perfect example. What's funny about what we're talking about. When they launched that Falcon 9 rocket in California, and I don't know if you saw it, it looked very ghostly in the sky. I'd never seen nothing like that. Do you know that people went to the hospital and thought it was end days? Like there were wrecks on the freeways. People thought Jesus was coming. They thought he was coming on a cloud. I don't know if you guys read a lot of this in the news, but I've seen videos of it where people literally, religious people really thought it was end days. And these people were having wrecks on the freeway, and people were having panic attacks, going to the hospital saying Jesus is coming. Yeah, yes, that was happening. And so I could see how that thing was as weird as it can possibly be to see that in the sky and just, yeah, I could see how that could be construed that way. But it shouldn't have taken a rocket looking like something heavenly happening for you to be shook. But, it is what it is. So it was crazy. If you have not seen this video of the Falcon 9 rocket they launched in California and didn't tell nobody, it is eerie, scary, beautiful. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen when it comes to anything in the sky. So if you're not a believer, you might have thought it was an alien, because initially I said, that looks scary. Like, are we being invaded? But if you are very religious and very into God and whatever religion you are, definitely I can see the connection where people thought that was something happening, apocalyptic kind of stuff, like somebody's coming. You know what I mean? So I just say that to say this, man. You won't have to worry about none of that stuff if you're following God's plan. Because let alone if he comes today or tomorrow, that you know that you'll be with him in heaven and rejoicing and worshiping and praising him and thanking him for everything that he allowed you to do. If I die tomorrow, I'm good. I feel like, yo, Lord, like, yeah, I'm hoping I get up in there. But when I do, whatever happens, it happens, because I'm going to rejoice because I'm going to be with you. So I just love him that much, man. I'm not afraid of death. I don't want to die, but I'm not afraid of it. Let me think about it. See, if you die, where will you end up? If you end up with the Father and what heaven's like, yeah, it's a win. So I just say that to say this to everybody, that we got to do better. We have to stand. Believers, we need to get at these Christians and help them be more soldiers and less civilians, because we can change it all if we all stand together. It's your boy Keith and the Food for Thought Project. I want to thank Yahweh International New Foundation Production for the opportunity. Now we're going to get into some more music. We got our boy Save Savage, Speak Life. That's my jam right there. Let's do it.
What's up? It's your boy, the Safe Savage. People always talking about what they ain't got, what they can't do. Speak life to your situation and watch it come to pass. Speak life. Here to rock shows, I'm here to save souls. But don't get me wrong, we gon' slap this song. Hey, 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 come on, let's shabbat. Hey, 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 come on, let's shabbat. That's the joy of the Lord flowing through my bones. It's on, devil. Bring it on, devil. He called it young because you're strong, you look disheveled, devil. Maybe you ain't on the same level as my God, devil. I'm a rebel with a cause, speaking life up in your hood. Blessings backed up like the 4 and 5 and 5. Jesus alive, man. He rearranged my life, man. Took me out the gutter, man. Represent the son of man. We hogs for the man. We hooked on God. Give it all to the man. Is that so hard? It's me. The S-A-V-E-D, S-A-V-A-G-A-G-E. I'm repping Christ until I D-I-E predestined for me. You speak death, dog, and I speak life. Representing J. Christ till the day I flatline. Speak life, 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 speak life. You speak death, dog, and I speak life. Representing J. Christ till the day I flatline. Speak life, 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 speak life. We've all lost somebody on the block. I had 5 knives pointed at my head rock. The devil wish he got me back then. I'm gon' win, I do sin, I'm not perfect, man. Everything I went through must have been in God's plan. Cause as if it was up to me, I don't know where I stand. My brothers do dirt, I'ma represent the one that brought me from the dirt. I understand why brothers slang that cane. This legit life ain't no joke, man. This dope game, this cocaine got us all hope in. For better, it's a setup. The devil won't let it. Why we gang bang? No love at home. We gotta fight like Joe so we can heal. Our minds ain't right, that's why we kill for a color. We killing each other. If the founder found redemption, why won't the young one listen?
If you feel like you can't make it, keep it real and don't you fake it. Give it to God and He will take it. You know them shackles, He will break it.
You speak death, dog, and I speak life. Representing J. Christ till the day I flatline. Speak life, 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 speak life. You speak death, dog, and I speak life. Representing J. Christ till the day I flatline. Speak life, 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 speak life.
You got to do it. Yo, you got to speak life into your situation. Understand that you're following God's plan. It's your boy, Keith, in the Food for Thought Project. I appreciate everybody for taking time to listen to this show. And I just end with just remember what God has placed in you. Remember what God has promised. Remember God's plan and purpose. And we'll see you next time. Robert Fairchild Jr. in the building.
New foundation
Remix. Yeah, with everything I've been through, you held me down. You was looking for me, but I couldn't be found. But through it all, remember everything that you done for me. You the rock, you the rock, you the rock for my salvation. Be faithful in everything you do, when you're on the front line, who relies on you, Faithfulness will erase those scars. Just trust in the Lord and break through the bars. Robert, how many people told you that you'll never make it? But look at everything you done because you serve the Son. That's life. Everything the devil took, we're gonna take it right back. And everything the devil took, we're gonna take it right back. Be faithful in everything you do, when you're on the front line, who relies on you, Faithfulness will erase those scars. Just trust in the Lord and break through the bars. I believe in you. I believe in you. For your faithfulness, everything you done for me. You've been my help.